Hello everyone, and welcome to the portion of my case study in which I discuss some of the simulations that are done on the Maryland Virtual High School website. So let's go ahead and get into it. This screencast will last about 5 minutes, not too long. So please bear with me, and I hope that you will gain something from it. All right, first I'll define what exactly a simulation is. And in essence, it's an imitation of how a real-world process operates. Because high school learners still need to apply what they're learning to real world situations, simulations are perfect in that they really help and assist with that. The first simulation that I'm going to show you is a rabbits and wolves simulation. And in this simulation, it shows how nature keeps its balance, and also it demonstrates how wolves and rabbits will behave in their natural setting. So I'm going to exit out of the presentation for just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the first simulation, and I'm just going to read over a little bit of what the learner will learn from engaging in this simulation. So pretty much as I just stated, the simulation allows the user to simulate how nature keeps its balance, and also allows the student to see how wolves and rabbits will behave in a natural setting. So the simulation does have some general rules that the students will be able to see. For example, two rabbits cannot occupy the same section of grass, and two wolves cannot occupy the same section of grass. Each rabbit can only eat grass when he has not reached his maximum food capacity, etc., etc. And there's a bunch of different directions and things that the learner can read before he or she actually goes into the simulation and experiences it. And I'll just go ahead and scroll over to the activity. And so this is the actual simulation. As you can see here, these little brown things are the rabbits, and these little things right here are the wolves. And you can determine how big or small you would like your forest to be. I'll just keep the forest size small. How fast you actually want the animals to move, and what border you would prefer to have around the forest. So in order to start the simulation, you would just click here, and then it goes to work, and it begins to show the student just exactly what would happen in a forest with wolves and rabbits occupying the same territory, and how they pretty much find ways to avoid each other so that they're able to live in a peaceful way. And once the student kind of gets an understanding or gets the gist of exactly, how the animals move and rotate around, he or she can stop the simulation, and they can scroll down and use these buttons here to kind of help them sum up what occurred in the simulation that they experienced. So if you click on View Population Graph, it shows the different population statistics of what occurred while the simulation was going. And then you can also click on the cumulative stats and show exactly like what happened during the simulation, like what animals died, who lived, when more animals were born. So in the simulation that I just showed you all, the number of rabbits that are currently living are 25. 646 rabbits died, and 651 were born, and 29 wolves are currently still living. 17 of them died, and 41 of them were born just in the time of that simulation. So you can go back to the simulator, and this allows the student to actually just change and modify any of the parameters that were set in the simulation key. Just pretty much is a key to show the student exactly what the animals, what in their image, what they are. So the smaller rabbits were young, and so the images got bigger, they became an adult rabbit, and the same thing for the wolf. And the key shows what each of the colors mean, and this is something that the students could actually view before they begin the simulation, so that they wouldn't be confused, and they would have an idea of exactly what was going on and what the simulation what they were getting from the simulation once it was over, and they stopped and they could see the final image. So that is the rabbit and wolves simulation. So we're going to leave that and go back to our PowerPoint, and the next simulation that I'm going to show you is a hurricane tracking simulation. And in this simulation, the students have to basically are answering the question, what contributes to the intensity of a hurricane? So exit back out of this, scroll down, and we're going to go to the hurricane tracking simulation. And this simulation I thought was pretty cool. The hurricane that the students were able to use was Hurricane Ivan, and the year range, the year range that they were able to use was between 1996 and 1998, and pretty much they could come and they could change the different model inputs and the values of when the hurricane occurred to help them figure out exactly what causes a hurricane to be one hurricane to be more intense than others. So I put in the first values that I'm going to put in for the starting month. I'll put 8 for August. The starting day I'll put the 5th. I'm going to change the year to 1996. The code I'm going to change to 9. And once I have all of these values inputted, I'm going to run the simulation. And if we scroll down, you'll get an output graph of the path of the actual hurricane, and where it occurred, where it started, where it stopped, etc., etc. And if you go down, you see an output table of exactly how what category the hurricane was at what time, and how fast it was going. And so the student is kind of get a grip on exactly what helps to contribute to the intensity of a hurricane. So just from looking at this output table, I would think that the later it appeared to get to get into the month of August, the more intense the winds of the hurricane were, and the category of it increased. And it seemed as the month began to come to a close, the path of the hurricane and the intensity of it began to die down. So if I go back and if I change the month to September and change the day, change the year, change the code, and run the simulation again, there will be a different output graph, as you can see, and you'll see a different hurricane path. And if the student were to scroll down back to the output table, they could see exactly how this hurricane differed from the previous one and what contributed to the intensity of this hurricane. And I selected the month of September for this one, and from really what you can see, the hurricane really wasn't intense at all. Even if there really was, it doesn't really even seem like there really was much of a hurricane actually, because it was a category 0. The highest the winds were when the month of September first started was about 65, and then as the month continued on, it basically died down to nothing. So if the student were to compare just the hurricanes within those 2 months, they could say that potentially the hurricanes are maybe more that within between 1996 and 1997, that hurricanes were a little more active in August of 1996 than they were in September of 1997. So this simulation is great with helping students to determine what exactly contributes to the intensity of a hurricane, and try it in comparing hurricanes across different years, different months, different dates, different categories, etc. And so those were just the 2 simulations that I wanted to show you. I really hope that you enjoy the simulations. The actual website has many, many more, and they're very, very interesting. And I really enjoyed the fact that they are so hands-on, and the students are able to visually see what it is that they are expected to be learning. So it's not just that, okay, hey, here's the simulation, just go ahead and do it. They can actually see, hey, this is what I've been learning in the classroom, and I can actually apply it to my real life, because I see exactly this simulation allows me to see exactly what it is that I need to know and what it is and how something, occurs in the real world, and not just something that I just don't have to relate it to what I learned in a book. So that's really what I enjoyed about the simulations from the Maryland Virtual High School website, is that the students are able to take what they're learning in the classroom and integrate technology into it, and it enhances what the content standards and everything that they are expected to learn. Thank you for taking the time to view my screencast. I really hope that you all enjoyed it and that you gained something from it. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.